constitution.
1992 constitution.
The constitution.
Our constitution now. Just say, I say, Wawoma. Na why will am our well, no cross of him, and say, be a mistake or more to Mrs.
Your constitution in your papa. And your papa baku. And pen a savam a bumping for no, and what he may move for. No, to watch on Jack and track a mlawolo, nato, Bajiano talking her, Ghana ma. She Ghana name I come black with I can come black with you.
It's the constitution.
The constitution.
Okay, what I know is the 1992 constitution that we normally knew, and then the one that we were taught in social studies back then as GHANAIAN.
The 1992 constitution.
Constitution.
Yes, please. The 1992 constitution.
Constitution.
If the judiciary has its own means of nominating the head of the judiciary, I think that would be the best.
Moko here bipo ni taflacha lebini ne jilalo efela no konesa mla mo bohegba ko ya police station no report.
Oh yes. Well, oh, yeah, in fact, it's
Na bibiana you say constitution na omano na president from unu omo yire mo afefe sepe no ma party vi enim na omonim pons na yeye tikrom na mo taxes sika kakra mo ba mo ne sukra mo twi
ye nipa na yete Ghana ha se sia no suban ye kuta no se ya ansesa ye bebre papa boda senate mi sisa wura no da kogu gotem nyema emfata na omo ye omo so na ye ba abon subo aban no mimi sabe mimi support aban bia.
I'd say is it the judicial, the executive, and the legislature?
No, I'm not quite familiar with an art that really constitutes what the whole constitution is about. Yeah.
Okay, so what I know is that before you can vote, I think you need to be 18 above.
Yeah, I know the constitution makes provisions for, let's say, fundamental human rights, the right to live, freedom of speech. We also have the right to vote and other ones that we can make.
freedom of association, rights, the freedom of speech and stuff like that.
Nshisheye bibiri wo mu a ekire sedia oman no ye chichire no ene sedia ye besifa aye enioma afa se ene na bua ma ye chichire oman na nkasa yeah.
akeni bia mi won to na chake bia mi awo akeni bia le noko black and bia fe ekokomo
Constitution since 1992. I say system. I was system. Oman penny bia ba 4 years no. He has to no so aba to the next term. But I see no 4 years no hwema ba 3 years time no. 1 year na kan your campaign time. Ntimi dey I was come system na kasa ho no kran komo ya na be 6 and 5 years.
So I think that thing might change.
There's no need for us to change it. We have to maintain it.
No, they have to review it. They have to change it. Because the way the leaders are, using this constitution to cheat on the people's and entire country is not fair.
Politicians, obi koye adwuma 4 years. No waje 4 billion no de ko. No be aye adwuma be 30 years. Na wonya 200 million grand go vie. Aden dey say ko dey sa. E o say koye ma ye nyina.
en sache ebem ne ye nyina ye koye enye papa baku en pen e savam e boa mpanin for no emboa timamufo
Me yan kwade an ke nya no sa me madwen kwade am say ye nipa na ye wo mu no ya de ye no e na makosusi no ye de asay nyama bebre ya dwene ye good a nyama beko ya maye.
If you are saying that, do I think that we need to make some changes? I would say yes. Because from my perspective, a lot of powers is given to the president, and if we can work on that, it's going to be better.
I think there should be a lot of amendments or something. The constitution is rather favoring the leaders and leaving the citizens behind. A lot of things are supposed to be changed.
Oh no, it's not friendly at all, and there's a very need to
Like they should do amendments and correct certain things about females and the street children and all those people.
But as long as I've been here, I think it is friendly. Yeah, it may be kind of difficult for some people, but I guess it is friendly.
Okay, the Constitution of Ghana is very good. It is okay. It is right. A rule or a constitution will be a constitution when the citizens in that country respect that constitution. The people that stand for the constitution, that talks about it, they are the one committing the crimes.
I think it is named the 1992 Constitution. And a brave abem na and your man almost share so they tree over time. And there a lot of things on your bracy.
In fact, there should be some changes in some aspects. Has to do with the Article 74. Is it 74 or something? Holders. That honorarium and the staff, the per diem and the ex gratia.
I think it is friendly. But amendment too, I think it should be amended because every written constitution, as time goes on, as things evolve, we need to revisit it.
I'm Subai. I'm me kasa in aspects of workers, especially the government workers. Nebet me abo on mine. Ebi more because I know me team. Time or pay and okwe ejuma. Must be one. I think it's not supposed to be taken home. No more the coffee, and then they use things anyhow because it's not from their pockets or because it's not their own. Into me and Yema anyhow, which are wow mine. It been so the government's properties along the areas like dustbins, road na ebimo tutu no more ton. They be so say be no more sabi ni na no yenesa. Man because ye be no na buy this car for akoto esika na no de to na yesen no to santi no ye hye na yesa sa so ban na abebo man
I'm was ban de mo hodro me to me say me de no boni papa o na boni so pan say obe do nia like obe feel nia pains ukita na was say obi hu chi na wo na wa ma no.
Looking at what you for me, pure Benewa behave for Wawe Kaheko, Onunu, Alo Oyeni, Kowo Roba, Sene how. Instead, no more Kawo, that's been you. Kowo from her anyhow.
Karatani de Obia Wanusu, I didn't buy. I do all my own. Buying a bit me, I say, or mining constitution bet me, I say, so we are there, you bet you what to know. Into room Suban Bang, and I say, oh, Brabin, I'll be doing it. You know, Uncle, we are there, I am there, Yanchi one to ending, and two more.
We have giving character, sober character, loving character, and so many. But mine is kind. Maybe you are okay, somebody is not okay. How do you share? You know, things are not going well. It's small, you can. You have to.
Of course, I have a good character. There are lots of things I have observed, and what I can say is my character is really helping the country because there is no way I will drink sachet water and dump it in the gutter. I won't do that.
Well, I'll credit myself with patience, with how to receive people, how to respect everybody in this life. Help us a country, we need to be talking to our people, give them a lot of samples of how human beings have to understand things. In fact, go about everything that you know you can do to help each other. That is exactly how we need to do.
For me, I can say I'm a kind person and I tolerate anyone. When we tolerate each other in the society, there will be peace and unity. It's easy for you to prevent fights.
I'm a good person, but sometimes, life can change. So we create jobs,
I'll invest in things that will bring money so I can support the youth of Ghana.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No, so my pa. Yeah, me sorry any say me pa doye. Ena me hu nipa mobo. Me hu say obi e kan say ni bia na say ya me pese me mboa. Ana obi aka say me say me ni adwuma mpa che obeboa me. Me boa pa, me boa nipa no me ne metimi bia say ono so onye adwuma enye say ne me.
Basically try and find out what are some of the issues. And especially testing people, first of all, to gauge the understanding of people regarding the kind of document that is used to govern this country. So we wanted to know from people's perspective what they think or the document that is used in governing this country. And at least majority of the people that we spoke to have an idea that it is the Constitution of Ghana. Just that some of the people were not even able to quote some of the provisions in the Constitution. That's another deficit, because to understand certain provisions in it too, it's not enough just saying that it is Constitution that's used. You must know what is inside the Constitution. Then if there's some change that you want to demand, then you can understand it. So again, it tells us that we have a very odious task to educate people about the provisions in the Constitution. Yeah.
Even to add to that, JB, I think the essence for going out to do this interview is first of all to understand that the masses know the document that is used to govern the government. But I was very impressed
Yeah.
because everybody,
but majority of them at least gave you
they
fair
knew
idea.
that is
It's
the Constitution. And looking at our first episode, we came to the conclusion that if we want to change anything, it's the Constitution that we have to do.
Correct.
And I think it sits in with our discussion today. So go ahead and let's see what we have for our listeners and viewers.
All right. So viewers, of course, those of you joining us via Zoom and then Facebook and as well as YouTube, you're most welcome to our program again. This is the second edition, and we are Kingdom Economic Forum. We've created this forum as the brain behind and the master of this whole forum already said that the basis is that to set a platform where we'll find solutions in addressing issues that are affecting this country. And so that's what we are doing. So this second one, we are narrowing the discussion this time around basically on the Constitution. We ask a simple question: that is Ghana's Constitution friendly? Development friendly? That's the question we are. And then we are also looking at this based on what you want to hear and the kind of discussion we want to delve into. We want to look at it that do we need a national development plan or a partisan party manifesto? That's the area we want to talk about. And as usual, our guest has been a very experienced and renowned economist, and also, if you like, a lecturer, a seasoned lecturer, a man of God as well, who is also a statesman, a very, very experienced person in life. He has a lot of achievement, a lot of international journals, that books he has written. One of whom we shared with you the last time, who owns the land, who rules the land. And by way of information, we want to tell you that we have most of his books available. And so at the end of this program, if you want to get a copy, we'll just give you a number, you call us, and then you place the order. We'll make sure that you get it, because some of them are available with us now. We are prepared to share it out. We want to empower people to read more and then get enlightened. And understanding is that
I just read from this great man: Africa shall be free from poverty, fulfilling God's desire for the prosperity of Africa. We have volume 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I've read them all, and I tell you, the moment you start reading, you wouldn't want to put it down. There's another book by this great man.
Yeah, but this one.
Abraham was rich. Isaac was rich. Jacob was rich. Why not you? It has volume 1, 2, 3. I have read them, and I tell you, I highly recommend to everyone listening to us or watching us. You will not remain the same when you read these books from this.
Very, very, very insightful. Very thought-provoking. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to introduce to you once again to this second edition of our Economic Empowerment Forum. As usual, our main speaker is Right Reverend Professor Osei Safo Kantanka. The Prof.
I hope you hear me now.
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Yeah.
How are we doing?
By His grace.
Yeah, good to hear your voice.
We are doing very well. Yeah. I see you there, and I hope everything is okay.
By the grace of God, we are in.
Thank God.
Yeah. All right.
Can we start shooting off?
Yes, please. Already the introduction has been done, so you can continue.
Okay. I hope that people may be able to see some of the slides that I've prepared, but whatever it is, we will just go ahead. This whole issue of our constitution not being development friendly is a statement I've made many times in the book that you have just introduced. I'm trying to bring out the fact that when you study our constitution, as I was writing the book, what came to me clearly was that there's a lot in our constitution that doesn't allow us to really become the kind of thing that we potentially can become. So that is why I kept on saying that our constitution is not development friendly.
Yes, Prof, we are here. We are listening.
Okay. Now, if you take one of the statements that I make in the book is that in a system of governance that does not lead to improvement in the life of the people, it's deficient, if you want to put it that way. In other words, there's a strong link between politics and economic development. And I think that is one of the things that we really need to understand. Our country is now going through what the economists call, I don't know that we are in some kind of trouble. But and then the government's final decision that we should go to the IMF, which is the 17th time as a country we have to go to the World Bank or IMF to come to our rescue. It tells us that if we have to go to IMF 17 times since independence, then there must be something fundamentally wrong with the system that we are operating. Unfortunately, when you hear all the discussions that are going on, it is all on the economy, on the economy, on the economy, without any reference to some fundamental issues about our governance system or the political issues which undergird the economic policies. That is a very important point. I've always been listening to the law professors, the economists, and all the people who are making all kinds of contributions. And they all seem to close their eyes to a lot of, they give all kinds of suggestions, we should be doing this, IMF comes in, it will do this. You heard all those other things that the economic management team will meet, and then they will, the solutions that they have always been given are the same kinds of things that we have been using. And nobody seems to be talking about the fundamental issues, which are the political issues, which undergird our economic issues. So before I go on to my own book and a few things that I can say, I got this book recently by some authors. The title of the book is Why Nations Fail, The Origins of Power, Prosperity, and Poverty. And it's very, very interesting that the kinds of things they are saying in the book are the kinds of things that I have discussed with reference to our country and probably Ghana. So let me say a few things about what they say in their book. They make it quite clear that there are three things that people think that they cause nations to be poor. Next slide. And those things they call our geography, and then ignorance, and then they think that these are the things that cause nations to be poor. But when you take geography, for example, let's take our mind. They give an example of two towns in Mexico. One of them is in the U.S., one is in Mexico. They are only surrounded by the boundary between the two nations. But when you go there, you see that they are the same Mexicans, they are the same people with the same culture, the same geography and everything. But the living standards and everything are completely different, simply because the governance system that they are under is different. They call the cities Nogales in Arizona and Nogales in Sonora, Mexico. Let's take another example. Korea, North and South Korea, the same Koreans, the same people, two countries. But after the Second World War, they put a line at latitude 38. North of latitude 38 is North Korea. South of latitude 38 is South Korea. Two separate kinds of politics, if you want. And the economies are completely different. So there is something that we need. There are others who also think that all the countries that are poor in the world are found in the tropics. And that is not necessarily true. Singapore is in the tropics, Malaysia, and so on. So if you take the Korea examples, the Mexico one that I was talking about, you see that geography does not really explain. And I have quoted a statement made by Chinua Achebe, the Nigerian writer. And I quote it here. I put it there in my book. He says, the problem with Nigeria. And listen to what Chinua Achebe says. The trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership. There's nothing basically wrong with the Nigerian character. There's nothing wrong with the Nigerian land or climate or water or air or anything else. The Nigerian problem is the unwillingness or inability of the leaders to rise to the responsibility, to the challenge of personal example, which are the hallmarks of true leadership. And he concludes, we have lost the 20th century. And we bent on seeing that our children also lose the 21st, God forbid. So he said that there's nothing wrong with Ghana, the land mass called Ghana, the endowments God has given to us, and so on and so forth. If you go into the Bible, God was talking about Israel and said, what else should I have done about this country that I haven't done? So there's nothing basically wrong with the fact that we are in the tropics or we are in Africa. Okay. There are others who say there is the culture hypothesis. Yeah. And they write in their book, many people maintain that Africans are poor because they lack a good work ethic and still believe in witchcraft and magic or resist new Western technologies. Well, this may be true. And some of our churches, maybe at another discussion, we can talk a lot more about it. The way some practice charismatism and so on. Many also believe that Latin America, they also have this same problem. But some people believe that the Chinese culture and Confucian values were inimical to economic growth. But now the importance of the Chinese work ethic and the engine of growth in China, Hong Kong, and Singapore is trumpeted. So everybody thought that this is it, this is it. But something has to happen. And then you see that the traditional ideas about these people is not true. Others also say that the culture hypothesis. In fact, some say that the culture hypothesis may be true. There are certain aspects in our culture which I've been preaching about, which we need to deal with, a certain mindset which must change. That one we can also admit. But we must know that Chinese had their own culture, the Koreans, and they had, but it's not the main cause of our poverty. The last one which they put up is the ignorance hypothesis, that maintain that poor countries are poor because they have a lot of market failures and because economists and policymakers do not know how to get rid of them and have heeded wrong advice in the past. And that's what we are doing. We want to go to the World Bank and bring in the experts so that they will give us ideas as to how we should run our economy. And Dr. Bawumia said NPP has a good economic management team. And it was true. I believe the NDC also had a good management team. So what are they proposing, which the IMF people will propose differently? Our people have all gone to these European and American universities and learned all these economics and so on and so forth. So they are as good as the experts that are supposed to come from the World Bank. So what is it that we have not done right, which is maintaining us in the some have said that when nations break out of institutional patterns, condemning them to poverty, and manage to embark on a path to economic growth, this is not because their ignorant leaders suddenly have become better informed or less self-interested, or because they have received advice from better economists. If Ghana comes out, what we need to do to come out of our poverty is not because we don't have economists. Dr. Bawumia, economists work in the World Bank. Dr. Desman used to be the finance minister in DC time. They work with the the Bank of Ghana. They are all good. The China, for example, is one of the countries that made a switch from economic policies that caused poverty and starvation of millions to encourage economic growth. If you look into my book, chapter 21, I have given the title, Singapore's Success Inspires China's Economic Revolution. It was simply because Deng Xiaoping and a certain group among the Communist Party decided that they cannot go on. It was a political decision. So it was politics that determined the switch from communism towards market incentives in China, not better advice from IMF or better understanding of our economic ways or anything. So getting it wrong is not about ignorance or culture. Poor countries or Ghana, we are poor because those who have power make choices that create poverty. They get it wrong, not by mistakes or ignorance, but on purpose. Let me emphasize that. We are poor, not because we don't have people who know economics, but we have systems, governance systems, that are really making us poor, that give a certain group of people advantage and let them really take advantage over the rest of us. They are not willing to give out that power. And that is the real cause of our poverty. So if you look at the book that I have written, we are not doing well because economists have always assumed that political problems are solved and that it has not been able to come up with a convincing explanation of where. So we think that all that we have to do is to what? Change the, what do you call it, the banking rate, the banking rate, move it from 16 to 22, do this, mop up the extra money and things. These are all economic things. But
mopping up liquidity in the system,
yeah, mopping up the liquidity. These are, there's nothing that the World Bank professionals will not tell us, which our people are not telling us. But let's quickly go to the Bible. There in Nehemiah chapter 5, verse 1 to 19, I will go to my book, chapter 27, and the title I give to you is that the leader who became angry at injustices in society. Time will not allow me to read the Bible and all that, but if you read Nehemiah chapter 5, 1 to 19, and you'll get it all written in my book. The people came to Nehemiah and said, look, we are Jews, like the nobles and the officials. And our people, our children have to go and work for them. We can't even get food to eat. And they are extracting all the money from us. And Nehemiah said, when I heard this, I was angry. So many times I have preached and I have said, are we angry enough? In fact, the church, can we go and read about Nehemiah and talk about Nehemiah and refuse to look around us? And our people are poor and are complaining. Now, there are typical examples in our country to show that the system really benefits a few and that the rest of us, the system does not allow us to benefit from what God has endowed us with. In that book that I referred to, they call it extractive and inclusive political institutions. When you have a political institution that is extractive and really getting what it is from the people, and then it includes a certain group, then the rest of the people are going to suffer. Politics is the process by which a society chooses the rules that will govern it, and that is the constitution. There is strong synergy between economic and political institutions. So if you have extractive political institutions which concentrate power in the hands of a narrow elite and place few constraints on the exercise of this power, then the economic institutions that come out of it will benefit only a few and the masses will suffer. I will only give just examples and then I'll finish my presentation. What are in our country, what are the institutions that really are holding on to political power and therefore determine who really benefits from what God has endowed us with? The first one, which I don't see any politician or economist mention, is the traditional rulers of our country. And that is what I've dealt with in the first session of the book. So we have two types of leaders in our country. One of the chapters of the book, I call it a bifurcated state, a state which has been checked. Well, at some point it's one state, but at some point there are two lines of authority. And all that has happened to us as a country and in many African countries is that our traditional rulers who have been in charge of the country before the Europeans came in have the power, especially in our country, where we have put into our constitution that the land mass called Ghana is divided into two lands and public lands. And I've written in this book that there's no country, the United Nations make it clear that the development of a nation depends on land and access to land more than anything else. So if you have a country where the power over land is vested in the chieftaincy institution, that is one major source of power. That is one major source of political power, which really now is in charge. I have a book here, Asante Lands, a practical guide to stool land acquisition and documentation, written by Nana Manshahine and so on. And he makes it very clear that the monies that you pay in order to acquire land for building purposes or anything is no longer drink money. It is the economic value of the land that you are paying for. And yet our system doesn't see anything that looks at this area and how it must be taxed in order for us to get money for our development. So this is an area that, and he himself in the book says that, look, he knows that some point, let me quickly read one sentence that he has put in here. He says, land prices in Ashanti are known to be relatively high. In Kumasi in particular, where the market is vibrant with a high velocity of exchange, soaring land prices is one of the main problems of the land tenure system, as it does not give fair access to land, particularly for those in the low and middle income groups. He is a chief and he's making this kind of statement. So you have low and middle income groups who have no access to land because what you have to pay for land is no longer something that you can go. And he himself said, now you have to pay for what? You know it in Accra, in Kumasi, in urban areas, to come and really what? Take care of the needs of the nation. They have to go and borrow. And when you go to the market and borrow, and everybody is talking about yield levy for what? Taxing people and all those kinds of things. And people are collecting thousands and millions of cedis on land, the basic commodity which determines what a country is. And this is a huge power front. And then the next power front which we have is a political system, which when the Abrofo were going away, they transferred. And in one of the sessions of the book, I have discussed what I call the indirect system of governance, which the Abrofo left with us, so that we have a situation where, in fact, our constitution, which we are running, is not different from what we got in 1957. It's the same basic constitution, giving more power to a certain elite who now, and if you read our constitution, there are so many things. The directive principle of state policy, there is nothing to show how you can really implement a policy that will really help all of us. So there are so many things that if we take our time and study this book and do this kind of discussion, we will really come to the conclusion that no, it's not just a question of whether we have a strong economic management team. Without us dealing with basic things about the politics, decentralization really doesn't mean anything in our country. And the district assemblies and the power of the president is so enormous that power at the level of the people is no longer existent. And the chiefs are selling the land, sell one piece of land over and over and so on. So if you have this political system that favors a few, and then the politics is saying that the winner takes all kind of system. And if you are not aligned to an MPP government which is in power, or aligned to an NDC government which is in power, you are an ordinary person struggling. Or if you are not aligned to a monarchy or a chief who now has access to a lot of these things, then you are just an ordinary person and you will continue to be in poverty. So these are the basic things that we need to begin to look at. It's not a question of let's change for example, the CDD has done a research in my book that it takes you close to 5 million, 500, half a million Ghana cedis before you can get elected, to go and take a position that pays you such a money that will not even allow you to cover all that you spend to get the election. So there are certain basic things. Maybe at another forum, we can discuss what we need to do. But basically, what I want to do today is to open our eyes to the fact that politics determines economy. Yeah, but and once we choose to leave the political situation and just think that it is the Baumia team, the management team, they should look at the thing and face the economy and so on, and close our eyes to the basic sources of power and those holding it, and therefore the decisions that they make to favor themselves. Why are we not able to get over galamsey? Because the power in the chief and the power in the politician is such that this thing cannot be dealt with. So there's a basic issue. Our constitution is not development friendly. That is what I want to put up this evening for us to talk about.
All right, that's a very brilliant presentation. I'm sure my co-host was all along nodding. I mean, meaning that he really agrees with most of the things that you said. So, just as we've done the presentation, I think the area that we want to look at, the crux of what we're discussing, is that you have proven to us that our constitution is not really a development friendly. Yeah. That's it. That's it. So, going forward, Professor, with you together, we want to, and others who have joined us, we want to share ideas here. So now that is, and the areas that we were looking at was that, one, so we must have a plan. Do we need a national development plan? and how it should function to be able to address the needs of the people, or we continue to run the system of this political party manifesto because, like you repeated, both at the NDC and MPP, each time they come to power, they will tell you they have their own economic management team.
Yeah.
Now they work around with this same macro variables. To pound this, like recently, the prime rate, somewhere it was 16.5, came to 19.5. Now it's a jump to 22. Our inflations, as we talked about, way back initially, when this party assumed power, they even dropped it to single-digit inflation. Now it's over 31% inflation. Our cedi is continuously depreciating at a very galloping, alarming rate. So these are the challenges. These are the real times. And along the biblical angle you brought in, where at a point Nehemiah got furious, justifiable so, because an action has to be taken. We have spoken at length. Now the country is now distressed. Where do we go as a people? And how do we deal with the issue? 17 times to IMF. There hasn't been World Bank, and there hasn't been any solution. As for the borrow, we don't even talk about it. Some party will tell me when I come, I won't borrow, and they have records, so they have even borrowed than the people they came to me. So it tells you that there's a rich cycle story. I see that if I want power, I have to come and tell story. What exactly do we need to do as a people of this country to get out of the doldrum, what we are experiencing now? Is it a national development planning? And if that is it, this country, we have it. The commission is there. What kind of input and angle are we getting from? Or we continue to run this partisan party manifestos where we tell you that we'll continue to build hospitals when we cannot even quantify where we'll even get the money to complete the hospitals. Professor.
Yeah, I think we have a very enormous problem on our hand in Africa. It has to be a clear decision taken by our people. It's not the directive principle of state policy. Maybe one day we can talk about it because it's there, beautiful. But how do you seriously implement it and make sure that what we have set ourselves to do, we have a 5-year development plan that Nkrumah and the others have. We don't seem to have anything. Anybody comes and they pick their own development group or whatever it is. But I'm addressing a very fundamental issue. What is the position of chieftaincy institution in all of this? We revere them, yes, but it's very clear that you cannot develop. When you read my book, you see that I've quoted Kwenyeshia, and he said that the United Nations says land is a major source. I've quoted a situation where a brother of mine in US wanted me to establish a citrus plantation for him. The chiefs that were involved made me to take the issue to court because they are giving it to somebody and giving it to me and so on. It was in the court for 12 good years, and all the money and everything was wasted. So anybody coming to do an investment here, there are certain basic things, and there has to be an angry voice. And I think that is where for me, that is the role that the church has to play. If the church cannot and will not be concerned, as Nehemiah we read about was concerned, then it's not just a simple issue of, we should have a national discussion, as we have started here. A national which direction do we want to go? What is the place on the future of chieftaincy in our governance system? What is the place of the multi-party system in our governance system? Do we necessarily have to operate like they operate in America in order for us to think that we are a democratic country? Why do we instead bring in what do you call it? Council of State. To do what? And put it into the Constitution that they have no legislative power. And yet you have all these groups there. And simply because
the state is spending on them, and the state is spending on them.
Spending on them. And simply because you wanted to copy what English people have done. They have a Privy Council, and because you didn't want to call it a Privy Council, you just call it Council of State. and you put it into the constitution that they may express any kind of opinion, but they have nothing, they can't compel the president or any of the executive
advisory only.
It's simply advisory. And you spend money on them. So what kind of, do you really want to develop the country, or you want everybody in the world to see that Ghana is practicing what? Democracy, because we go every 4 years for elections. We don't seem to have the mind that, no, we want to develop our country. We are poor, and there are certain things that we want to do.
Okay, Prof.
There has to be a result.
Some questions, people have raised some questions. My co-host will continue.
Okay.
The mic on now.
All right. I don't know whether my voice is clear, because somebody was saying that it seems
now it's clear.
It's clear.
Now
Okay.
it's clear.
So somebody is asking, please, how can a normal citizen of Ghana take steps to put pressure on government to get our constitution reviewed?
Yeah, and an individual citizen may not be able to, and that's why for me, I call what MEPAC, Movement for the Eradication of Poverty in Africa through the Church. If really we read the Bible, and we see all these things there, and we've seen Nehemiah as what? An example of real leadership.
And Christians are in the majority. And the Christians are in the majority.
We read 1 Samuel chapter 11, where the Gibeonites, the Ammonites wanted to take the eye of the people of Gilead Gilead or something. And then when Saul heard of it, the Bible says, when he heard it, the Holy Spirit came upon him and he was burned with anger. And he said, we'll have to go and fight these people. Where are the Ghanaian Christians and the African Christians who have the Holy Spirit in us, thinking that the Holy Spirit, the only thing he does is for us to speak in tongues,
and then only in church, and only in church buildings.
Exactly. And huge church buildings and decorate them and so on, and not to be angry about the poverty of our people and the people who hold power and so on. And our people come in and they go back to their homes, and what are they? So we have 70% of Ghanaians claiming that they are Christians, and our leadership is silent and is not making any attempt to challenge the status quo. Because Nehemiah said, we have tried to get our people from the hands of what? Of the Gentiles, for only them to come and you enslave them. Why are we enslaving ourselves? Both the chieftaincy institution and the political institutions. So it's not for an individual to solve the problem. It's for the church leadership. And that's what Chinua Achebe said. There's nothing wrong with Nigerian air, water, or whatever. What is wrong is leadership.
All right. So now I think a lot of people are still on the line. They are quiet now. I think the opportunity will be given to them. Now, if any of you, those of you on the Zoom, you want any question, now the opportunity is up. You have the opportunity, or the floor now is open. You can quickly signal us. We'll give you the opportunity to ask our main speaker. But whilst we wait for all these calls, you know, when we went out to try to gauge and sample the views of people about the Constitution. All right, so we have General who is ready to speak with that. Hello, General, good evening, and you're welcome.
Can you unmute, General? I know you are speaking from the US. Please, General, unmute.
Kindly unmute and speak with us. Yeah.
All right.
Good evening. I think, Prof, God bless you. I'm happy that you are coming from both a ministerial background and you have got some history on your side. And then you have got age also. So, you know, the thing has changed. Yeah. The power still remains in the hands of the elite who are protecting their interests, their families, and their friends. They are not interested in the masses. The same way that the white man did when he was here is what we are doing. And until we get angry enough and begin to understand our history and our culture and bring it to bear in this conversation, the earlier we begin to realize who we, this thing about manifesto is to change what is happening to us as a people.
Okay, so we have next person on the line is with us. This is the Kingdom Economic Forum, and our main speaker has been the Right Reverend Professor Osafo Kantanka. Can we have?
And I do agree with Prof. A lot of you, a little example. One, and in the court on the floor, everybody within the space of 5 years, the time why it is our attitude.
Okay.
The French president, what car does he use? So the minute you begin to do things like that,
you are not patriotic here. That's true. All right, so we have Joe. Joe, you are ready. So unmute and let's hear your voice, Joe. Hello, Joe. Kindly unmute so we can hear your submission.
I think whilst we are waiting for you.
Joe, you are on.
Hello.
Hello, Joe. We
Okay.
can hear you.
Oh, I think we can. That's one. The other one, change of this constitution.
All right, thank you
Without
very
that,
much. Move to Black. Unmute and kindly speak to us. Black.
Submission. I think that the gap between after or 30. So it means it's the national policy. Because after constitution to tap their manifesto, what happens to that individual? What are the things that we are going to do to whatever a champion?
Welcome. We are already together anyway, so certainly that's the agenda that we've started and we'll continue with it. But back to you, Prof, on until we have somebody who is ready to speak to us as signals. Let me get back to you, Prof. And so typically, like Nehemiah would do, he is angry. That's the picture. Where do we take it from? Like the gentleman asks, an average person, an ordinary citizen, the constitution is in place as we speak now. If you have anything to do seriously to bring any alternative, you have to go through the period that has been stipulated as a 4-year mandate. And so for people of the MPP, the current government has a little more or less like the 2+ before Ghanaians can decide. Now, in between this period, there are challenges that are arising. Now, 30 days ago, the president assured the nation that it shall be well. We agree we shall be well. The issues, fundamental issues, are still there. It's not being addressed. Now, if you become Nehemiah of our time and you say you are angry, to what extent can you exercise your anger? And what is the threshold of your anger? And what else can we do aside the talking, as somebody said that this is the forum and we are still talking. Ghanaians, we've been credited as people who can talk and talk proper. But the real thing is that we must start it now. The action must start. How do we start?
Yeah, it's a very important question. Somebody said, and I agree with him, it's not that the church is getting involved as an institution. For example, in Germany, you have what Christian Democrats as a party and so on. That's not what we are talking about. We are talking about a church really educating her members to be aware of the issues that confront them. I keep on telling our people and our ministers that don't keep us the impression that all that God is interested about us is that when we are saved and we go to heaven. God is interested in Africa. That's the title I gave to the other book, which Ebenezer has read, that Africa shall be free from poverty. And the subtitle is Fulfilling God's Desire for the Prosperity of Africa. We need to begin to educate our people. Our ministers and church leaders know, many of them know next to nothing about the Constitution. I'm not a constitutional expert, but I took my time to study and to read and so on and to understand these things in relation to my faith. So we need really to begin to talk to our people and begin to, like somebody said, do you make the constitutional issue something that we need to debate for the 2024 elections, I think that's where we need to start from. And this forum and others that we can maybe begin to create should begin to look at how we can really keep abreast. And again, we should encourage people who have reason to be angry to be involved in politics. Because what we are talking about is not, you get people who are good enough, but they go in and the system is so corrupt that you cannot exercise what you need to do. So all that I will say is that there has to be a conscious effort by the church, the Nehemiah approach, to be concerned enough about the living conditions of our members and to accept that it is not just by what? Accepting what it is and saying that we need to be more active than we have been. And I believe that with time, we'll be able to get things changing. And I also think that we probably even need to go to the secondary school and the university levels and begin to educate some of them on some of these issues, so that those who will become our future leaders will be better informed.
This one, people will tell you that there is a state institution that has been mandated to solely be teaching people civic responsibility. This civic education you are talking about, the NCCs are there. And so we should also carry it upon ourselves and be going around the schools and do the same job again, whilst they are being paid for. Or their money should be scrapped, so people who can do it go ahead and do that.
Well, if you have a purpose, you want to achieve something, and you know that the NCC is not doing anything, why do you just say there are people who have been paid for to do this? But you have a clear purpose that you want to change the situation. I think that we need some a transformational thinking. And Paul told us, be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. The church in Africa needs to transform its thinking. In China, it took a group, the Communist Party, to sit down and say that, no, this is the way we want to go. Rwanda, luckily for them, have come to realize that even their survival depends on what? Changing the system of the way they are doing things. And gradually, they are moving on. So we need to really task ourselves and begin to accept that, like we are beginning to do, that there's, for the love of our country and for the love of God's people, we need to be able to educate our people, bring out the issues. I don't see what is wrong with Osofo preaching about political issues from the pulpit, making clear about the issues that are confronting us. Because I think that a lot of the things that we have failed to preach and to confront the issues are taking our people more to hell than what is actually the gospel. If the gospel is not to help people to become the potential that God has put into them. So we must begin and continue with what we have begun. And the churches must begin to be aware that God wants us to educate our people on the things that confront us and to challenge society about the things that need to change.
Prof, you've really concluded on a very good note, in the sense that the Kingdom Economic Forum, like I said from the beginning, it's for us to come up with a new way of doing things. Unfortunately, the church has become an end to itself. But the church is a means to an end, because Jesus came to talk about kingdom. And in Matthew 6, when he was teaching us how to pray, he said we should pray that heaven will be like, the earth to be like heaven. So therefore, the issue of poverty is not in line with the will and the purpose of God. And the idea is that, in fact, every religion is not interested in his people to be poor. All of them want to give goodwill, better life, and everything. That which fits into the kingdom agenda. That's what God wants us to have. So therefore, as we plan ahead, all those who are listening to us, we just don't want to be just a forum. we want to come up with an action that will impact on society, whereby even if we are not going to benefit the next generation, we should chart a very good course for them so that they will be able to have a place to enhance whatever we will start for them to enjoy better than what we are doing. We are so much grateful for those who contributed, and we want to say that we will be coming back to you, and we want you to think through it. When the Prof mentioned about leadership, it wasn't talking about just those at the top. It's about everybody. We should be able to lead ourselves, take personal responsibilities in every area where we think that we can contribute. So when you're able to do your part, and I do my part, before we could say, Jack, we will see a kind of growth that we all desire and aspire to achieve.
Yeah. So with your kind permission, my co-host, Prof, we want to thank you so much. But I think that one very profound statement he made as part of your delivery was that we need to set the agenda. And so if 2024's election, if for nothing at all, we must be able to push and set an agenda that it must be a change of the constitution, or certain aspects must be amended. That will become an issue, because normally what happens is that when it's about time for election, then few people, some organization will go for their usual research and come and tell you, okay, what is determining this outcome of the election? Is going to be employment, is going to be who can provide education, is going to who can provide this and that, forgetting that, well, all these bases and indices emanate from the constitutions, and as you said, from the fundamentals. So if the fundamentals are not right, what we are doing is superficial, and certainly will amount to nothing, and we'll go round in circles, and at the end of the day, if you are not careful, it becomes a talk shop. We'll be sitting here and we'll be talking and be talking and be talking. But one thing that Kingdom Economic Forum intend to do is to make sure that we set agenda. So all those of you who believe in this agenda continuously, we'll have our numbers on the screen. We'll show you to them. We'll give you our social media handles that you can contact us. Any information you want, the way you want us to move together, the actions that are relevant to this cause, please, you are welcome to share with us. Our numbers, one is 0545 234791. 0545 234791. And if you want to drop any information to us, certainly my mentor is here. He will also give you the angle. But another area that you can send your emails to is jbdankwa66@gmail.com. jbdankwa, these are small caps, jbdankwa66@gmail.com. Forward in any idea you have, any action plan, forward it to us. We intend to implement it to the latter. We cannot do it alone. We need a lot of people to come on board so that the change will be heavier. Whatever the voice we want to lift will be heavier. A lot of people will come on board, and so that the people will see the need to change. Because gradually, now, even the politicians, the political elite, the few ones are beginning to understand that if they are not careful, a time will come, nobody will give them space wherever they find themselves. And I think it's good. So probably you want to also add one of the contact numbers so that people want to reach you or want to use. Okay. So the contact number is 0545 234791. Please, you can send only WhatsApps. And if you have information, you can drop it. Then by email, it's jbdankwa66@gmail.com. Thank you so much for those of you who join us. God bless you. And we are still encouraging you to get some of the books that our dear professor, has written. It's on the market already. We have a lot of them in stock. If you still want to get a copy, the number I gave out, 0545 234791. Call us when you reach us on this number, wherever you are. We'll make sure that you get a copy. So we have Who Owns the Land, Who Rules the Land. And this was written by the Right Reverend Professor Osafo Kantanka. And as we've been told earlier, Adam was rich, Isaac was rich, Jacob was rich. Why not you? And why not me? And why not Ghana? Why not Africa? It's another one. We have volume 1, 2, and 3. And then we have Africa shall be set free from poverty, fulfilling God's desire for prosperity of Africa. We have volume 1, 2, and 3. There are other books that we'll be sharing. And those of you who are also watching us via Zoom, if you have very insightful and very purposeful and challenging books that will help us with the course of that we have taken, let us know. We'll sell them out so that people can have more idea. The more we read, the more we are empowered. And then we can understand the basis. Because you cannot talk about constitutional issues when you don't even know the provisions in the Constitution. Neither do you even get test by test interpretation. Forget about a law. You don't only need laws to interpret the laws. We read the books and then the ideas will come. When we have to consult, we'll consult so that together we'll move forward. We want to thank all of you for joining us. Maybe your last word before we wrap.
I think we need to appreciate our sponsors. We have Patos AIB Limited. They are manufacturers of natural, like organic product for the poultry industry. They are also into disinfection and fumigation. And also Patos Agro Limited. They produce local rice. They have their own farm where they have a local rice. The brand name is Ohima Rice. And the other brand name is, what's the name? Okay, I will get it for you. But then they produce local rice. They are also into the products. They also have GH Fresh Chicken, the local chicken where they sell around. We thank you very much for sponsoring us for this wonderful program. Until we come your way next month, yes, monthly. So next month, we're going to help, we will then broadcast the program that we intend having with you. And we trust that whatever we have shared, if you have any idea that will help us to implement the good advice that we've received this evening, please do not hesitate. I think one thing that just came to mind is that we can also start having constitutional quiz among the SHS and then the universities so that it allows them to read the constitution. Yeah. So I think we will try to develop a program around it, like Prof advice. We also have to try and then make sure we go to the schools and let them understand what we have. And yeah, sure. Thank you.
So thank you. We are grateful to all of you, especially to our technical crew, Cherry and Co, our camera guys and our studio in-persons, so many, the graphic designers and all those, Felix and Co. Charlie guys have done a great job. We thank you so much. We'll see you. The next edition, episode 3, will be next month, and that will be another topic. But this time around, we promise that we will release the information concerning our next meeting very early so that you can also be abreast and prepare for that. By the way, we bless God for all of you. And let's continue to pray for Ghana and wish well for this country. Don't keep quiet. When the issues are being debated, get involved. Be interested in what happens in your area in Ghana. This is our land of birth. We have nowhere to go. So whilst we seek the prosperity of this nation, get involved from all angles. God bless you. See you some other time. Bye-bye.
Someone achieve